Howdy, my name is Blake Alldredge and I am an Extension Associate with the Wildlife and Fisheries Unit of the Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Service. We have created this video to provide basic information we feel new landowners should know to effectively manage land for wildlife. We will introduce you to a few of the available resources, such as where to get technical assistance, how to create a map of your property, plant and soil identification tools, and where to find publications on wildlife and land management that are extremely useful to landowners. First, let's talk a little bit about the state. Texas is the largest state in the contiguous United States and contained within its nearly 269,000 square miles are 10 distinct ecoregions, pictured here. An ecoregion is an area that possesses similar characteristics, such as soil types, that differs from other areas in its ability to produce a distinctive kind and amount of vegetation. If you think about Texas, the piney woods of East Texas look different from the high plains of the Panhandle, and the Gulf prairies along the coast are much different from the mountains of West Texas. As you can see from this list, Texas has tremendous plant and wildlife diversity contained within these differing ecoregions. Yet much of this diversity rests with private landowners, as approximately 95% of the state is privately owned. Recent land trends suggest that Texas gains about 1,900 new landowners every year. Many of these landowners are purchasing property for recreational purposes, such as hunting and fishing, as opposed to traditional farming and ranching activities. This new breed of landowner is often inquisitive and technologically savvy, using Google to search the internet for available resources. Nowadays, many more people are finding information on social media websites such as Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Additionally, they tend to have a great desire to understand and improve the plant and wildlife communities that exist on their property. New landowners often want to become as familiar as possible with plants and animals on their property, and many want to understand what good wildlife habitat looks like and how to improve their existing habitat. Finding all these answers can be overwhelming at times, but in this video, we want to show some of the resources available to you. One of the first questions new landowners should ask is, where can I find technical assistance as I manage my land? There are several state and federal agencies that provide technical assistance. However, Texas A&M AgriLife Extension, Texas Parks and Wildlife, Texas A&M Forest Service, and the Natural Resources Conservation Service are the four agencies that we would advise private landowners to start with, and I'll show you how to contact field representatives from each agency and then let them explain the mission of their agency and in what ways they can assist landowners. Using Google, you can easily find local representatives of these agencies. We will start with finding your county extension agent. First, Google Texas A&M AgriLife Extension, then the county name, followed by county agent. Under contacts is a list of county representatives including your county extension agent.
My name is Jim Cathy. My title is Associate Department Head. I'm an Extension Wildlife Specialist for Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Service. The mission of our agency is to improve the lives of Texans, the communities and businesses across the state of Texas and beyond. We do that through high quality and relevant education. The Extension Unit within the Department of Wildlife and Fisheries Sciences has a number of Extension Associates, Program Specialists, and Extension Specialists scattered across the state. We work directly with our county extension agents who are typically located in one of our 254 counties here in the state of Texas. We work with them closely to help identify the subject matter that landowners may want to know about, and then sometimes it gets pretty specific. For instance, it may be intensive deer management, working with bobwhite quail, or sometimes rare species here in our state. In addition to the Department of Wildlife and Fisheries Sciences, I also have colleagues in other departments. For instance, Dr. Larry Redmond is one of my colleagues in Soil and Crop Sciences. He works a lot with landowners on different types of forages that may be best to plant in the different locations across our state. Jason Clear is a friend of mine in animal science and works closely with the beef cattle industry. We have David Anderson in the Department of Economics, who works with ranchers routinely to, hone their skills, hone their goals to make it profitable by being on the landscape. And by including all of these activities That's a better way to go about one's business. You have something to fall back on. It diversifies what you're doing. It gives you a plan for the future. In the Department of Wildlife and Fisheries Sciences, we also team up with our county extension agents. For instance, Brian Davis is located in Bexar County, and Brian and I have teamed up a number of times on different types of programming that benefit land stewardship out on the landscape. We work with game species such as deer and quail. We also work with rare species such as black-capped vireo and others. Sometimes it's just about creating a habitat that's conducive to a large number of animals. Having the most number of plants and animals on one's property is hugely beneficial. Increasing that biodiversity is something that one wants to do in the ranch management plan.
To find your local Texas Parks and Wildlife biologist, just Google TPWD Find a Biologist. You can click Wildlife Biologist by county, or choose the district the property is located. Either way, choose the county and you will see a list of contacts for that county. By the way, you can search for your local game warden the same way. Simply Google TPWD Find a Game Warden.
My name is Jared Lang. I'm with Texas Parks and Wildlife. I'm a regional wetland and waterfowl biologist. Cover about 63 counties in East Texas. My primary responsibility is providing technical guidance to landowners and wildlife management areas for waterfowl habitat management. Basically, the mission of Parks and Wildlife is to manage our cultural and natural resources and provide hunting and fishing opportunities and outdoor recreation for the public. We have biologists stationed that are responsible by each county across the state, and they basically provide technical guidance to landowners and write habitat management plans, harvest plans, and stuff like that, depending on the landowner's objectives and our conservation goals in that area.
To find local Texas A&M Forest Service personnel, Google Texas A&M Forest Service County Search and select your county to find contact information for the individual you need.
My name is Hugh Simpson and I work for Texas A&M Forest Service in Lufkin, Texas. The mission of Texas A&M Forest Service is to provide statewide leadership to assure the state's trees, forests, and related natural resources are protected and sustained for the benefit of all. Texas A&M Forest Service primary focus has always been education, technical assistance, and wildfire protection. We have offices located throughout the state to provide assistance to landowners like yourself, which may include developing a stewardship plan for your property. These plans outline management practices which will enable you to meet the goals and objectives you have for your property. Our staff can also direct you to financial incentive programs that may be available to help you implement these practices. Texas A&M Forest Service is continually monitoring the forest resources of this state to ensure they're able to provide the economic, environmental, and social benefits we all rely upon. We also work diligently to protect your land and property from devastating wildfires, insect and disease outbreaks, and other natural disasters. We use cutting-edge technology to forecast these occurrences and focus mitigation and prevention efforts to target these areas. When disasters do strike, we're at the front line working to protect your property. Once the danger has subsided, we're there to restore the land. Texas A&M Forest Service is always willing to answer any tree or forest-related question you may have, whether it's regarding a sick tree, which species to plant in your yard or on your property, or how to make your land more productive. So I encourage you to give us a call. We are here to help.
To find your local NRCS biologist or grazing land specialist, Google NRCS Texas Zone Offices. Next, click the appropriate zone. You will see an office number and a list of employees by their title.
My name is Jeff Goodwin. I'm the State GLCI Grazing Land Specialist. I work for the Natural Resources Conservation Service, and I'm stationed in Temple, Texas. We are a part of the United States Department of Agriculture. NRCS's mission is to provide conservation technical assistance to private landowners across the United States. The Natural Resources Conservation Service employs rangeland management specialists, agronomists, wildlife biologists, soil scientists, and soil conservationists to meet the needs of the natural resources that are out there across the nation. We work with landowners on a voluntary basis to try to meet whatever resource concern they may have. The main goal that NRCS has is applying conservation technical assistance. We do that through writing conservation plans. Those conservation plans are free of charge, they're voluntary. As the landowner comes into our office, we work with them to develop a conservation plan that meets their goals and objectives. NRCS also provides private landowners the opportunity for financial assistance programs through Farm Bill funding. We utilize some of these programs to meet the conservation objectives and the resource concerns of the conservation plans that we write with landowners.
Here in Texas, we are unique among all the other states in the Union because the state is more than 95% privately owned. As natural resource managers, this presents a different set of opportunities and challenges than those faced by our colleagues in other states, where the majority of lands being managed are public. As you might expect, our state agencies handle things a little differently. For this reason, Texas Parks and Wildlife has a variety of private lands programs, as well as wildlife biologists assigned specifically to assist private landowners. These individuals will be listed alongside your other wildlife biologists on Parks and Wildlife's website. For more information, Google TPWD private lands. Now let's talk about some web-based resources available to new landowners. The first one to think of is the Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Service Wildlife and Fisheries website at wildlife.tamu.edu. This website provides information on managing land for numerous wildlife species, such as white-tailed deer, quail, wild turkeys, dove, as well as pond and fish management and resources to control exotic feral hogs. Next, let's talk about the Wildlife and Fisheries Extension YouTube channel. Google WFSC AgriLife YouTube and click the top link. On this site, you will see a variety of videos that provide you with valuable information on topics such as how to build feral hog traps, surveying quail, tips for how to monitor land conditions, and different techniques for improving habitat. These are updated regularly, so be sure to keep up with our new material. And if you have a need that you don't see a video for, we encourage you to contact us and suggest it. Next, let's explore the Texas A&M AgriLife bookstore. The collected knowledge of hundreds of agricultural and natural resources specialists have been published in easy-to-read, extremely useful publications. Google AgriLife bookstore and click the first link you see. At the top left, you can search for a particular topic. Let's try turkey, for instance. You'll see a variety of publications that relate to this topic. Many of these are available for free in an online PDF, some you have to order. Be sure to talk to your county extension agent, who may have free copies of these to hand out. Many of these publications can also be found on the AgriLife Extension Wildlife and Fisheries Unit website. We cannot understate the value of a good map. As new landowners, that is a common necessity and will improve your ability to manage your entire property. There are a few easy tools that we use regularly which can also be used by the private landowner. Let's take a look at some of these. The first is Google Earth. If you aren't familiar with this, type Google Earth into the Google search bar and follow the link. Google Earth will require a free download if you do not already have it installed on your computer. This tool is one that can be used in a variety of ways, from desktop to mobile phone. Here we use the desktop version, but the application is the same. This resource is a great first tool in getting an aerial view of your property. This is helpful in developing a feel for the size, shape, and composition of your property. Depending on location, Google Earth provides historical photographs. Just look for the timeline at the top and move the button to scroll back and look at historical photographs. Next, we'll look at ArcGIS Explorer Online. ArcGIS is a powerful mapping system used by professionals in many fields. This system is what the common GPS system is based on and provides many functions that may or may not be useful for all landowners. For most landowners, satellite views are desired. If you create an account, you can save your maps and use them later, but without membership, there are a variety of functions to use. Likely the most useful is the Measure tool. This tool can measure lines, such as roads and fences, or acreage of the overall property, or of individual pastures or fields. Landowners across the state can access the Trinity River Information Management System, or TRIMS, which is a free mapping tool developed by the Texas A&M Institute of Renewable Natural Resources. TRIMS can be accessed through the internet and doesn't require a download. Google TRIMS in the search bar and click the Launch TRIMS button to begin. TRIMS allows you to measure acreage and lengths, draw lines, polygons, and points, and print the map for in-the-field use. For counties in the Middle Basin between Dallas and Lake Livingston, TRIMS provides access to local soil, elevation, hydrology, and vegetation cover data that is especially useful for restoration projects on the land. Finally, TRIMS can display the restoration potential for landowners interested in bottomland hardwood restoration on their property. Finally, we're going to take a brief look at the Web Soil Survey tool developed by NRCS. Google Web Soil Survey and follow the link. The main page does a great job of introducing the basic functions of Web Soil Survey, so we will merely introduce you to this tool. It is important to know the soils on your property, as the soil type can predict the vegetative species that can grow on your property. This website allows you to select a specific area and learn valuable information for those soil types, such as which plants grow best, infiltration rates, and more. You can also print a map of the area to know approximately where different soil types are located on your property. When managing for wildlife, it is extremely important for landowners to know the plants on their property so that you can know which plants are good for wildlife and to identify invasive plants. This can be a difficult task for landowners who have little plant identification skills. Before you can assess the quality and health of the vegetation of your property, you have to know what you have. Luckily, there are some excellent resources out there to help landowners easily identify different plants. First, we will discuss the websites that Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Service has to provide plant identification information to Texas landowners. Google plants of Texas rangelands to visit this excellent website developed by the Ecosystem Science and Management Unit of AgriLife Extension. From here, you can click the Help Me Identify My Plant button to determine the plant in question, and you can view their virtual herbarium to scroll through images and read publications to learn more about these species. Next, Google aquaplant and follow the link. This site is managed by our fisheries specialists to help pond and wetland owners identify aquatic plants. This website provides a description of the plant, explains its ecological value, and gives management recommendations for chemical, mechanical, or biological control options. Now we'll take a look at perhaps the most comprehensive plant database in the country, developed by NRCS. Google USDA plants and follow the link. This site has identification keys and over 40,000 images of different plants to help landowners ID those plants. You can also see a list of plants in your state or region, learn about their distribution, wildlife value, the wetland indicator, and many other characteristics to help you manage your land. One of the best resources for identifying trees in Texas is the Trees of Texas website maintained by the Texas A&M Forest Service. On this site, you can learn the best ways to identify trees, as well as searching for particular trees by leaf type or ecoregion. They also describe how trees grow so that landowners can gain understanding of their needs, and they describe invasive trees that are harming ecosystems around the state. Next, let's look at the Plant Image Gallery by the Noble Foundation based in southern Oklahoma. Google Noble Foundation Plant Image Gallery and follow the top link. Designed for southern Oklahoma and North Texas, this website helps landowners identify numerous grasses and grass-like plants, forbs, and trees by name or image. Lastly, Google Texas invasives and click the link. On this site, you can learn about how invasive plants, animals, insects, and pathogens spread, and why they are so damaging to the environment and economy of our state. This site may not be as useful for identifying different species, but if you know what you're looking for, you can learn a lot about these species at this website. Partners for this website include Texas Parks and Wildlife, AgriLife Extension, Texas A&M Forest Service, and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. An ability to accurately identify the wildlife on your property and to know what their habitat needs are will help you determine the best way to manage your property. While we would like to directly observe every animal and every action, we simply cannot. A quick, easy way to identify wildlife is based on tracks, signs, and feces, also known as scat. Texas Parks and Wildlife provides a great publication that contains information about various wildlife species in Texas, such as what their tracks look like, as well as habitat requirements. Google Texas Wildlife Identification Guide to view it. Once again, Texas A&M AgriLife Extension has many publications that describe several wildlife species, such as wild turkey, and their habitat needs. These publications also contain recommendations for landowners to improve habitat on their land. These publications can be found at the Wildlife and Fisheries Extension website at wildlife.tamu.edu or at the AgriLife bookstore. A great way for landowners to know what animals are on their property and to understand their movements better is to use game cameras. Cameras can take photos and videos at spots for long periods of time and are useful for monitoring your wildlife populations. These cameras are available at most outdoor recreation stores or can be purchased online, in some cases for less than $100. We hope this information provides a good starting point for you as you begin to manage your land for wildlife or incorporate wildlife into your farm or ranch operation. Feel free to contact your nearest Extension Wildlife Specialist by visiting the People page at wildlife.tamu.edu for their information.